Hi, that was from Pachelbel's Canon in D, and the chord that I've circled is what we call the mediant chord. The name mediant refers to the third degree or third note of a scale, and also to the chord formed on that degree. So in the key of C, 1, 2, 3, third note of the scale is E. Build a chord on it by adding the notes from the C major scale. So we add G and B, and we get an E minor chord. Now you notice that that has two notes in common with chord 1, the E and the G. If I take the B away from the top, put C at the bottom, we've got a C major chord, chord 1. It also has two notes in common with chord 5, the G and the B. So if I take the E away, put the D at the top, we've got a G major chord, chord 5. So sometimes the mediant chord can be used as a substitute for either the tonic or the dominant chord. It's not used anywhere near as much as the primary triads and the chords 2 and 6 that I've covered in other videos, but it is used in certain places. And in Canon in D, it was used to harmonise the leading note in a descending scale passage. The leading note is a technical name given to the seventh note of a scale. So in the example of Canon in D, the seventh note in D major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is C sharp, and that was harmonised with this chord, F sharp minor, which is chord 3 or the mediant chord in the key of D major. By the way, you'd notice that in previous videos, I was playing the chords with my left hand and just single notes in the melody with my right hand. I'm using what we call a different chord voicing. That's where you rearrange the notes of a chord in a different way. So I'm now playing 3 notes in the right hand and just the root note with the left hand. I will be doing a further video later on about the different types of voicing that you can use on the piano. But for this one, it's just a case of I've got the melody note at the top and then the remaining notes below it, and the left hand just plays a single root note. Okay, let's look at Canon in D again then, but I'm going to play it in the key of C major instead. So, as I've said, it's used to harmonise the leading note in a descending scale passage. So we're coming down notes of a C major scale, starting on E, get to B, which is the seventh note of a C scale, and we're harmonising it with chord 3, the mediant chord. Now, what's important in this progression is what comes before it and what comes after it. So the chord before it really has to be either chord 6 or chord 1, and the chord after it, chord 4. So in this case, it was chord 6, 1, 5, 6, 3, and then 4. It can be preceded with chord 1 instead. There's a famous song about a dragon that starts like this. And basically the melody was using the notes of a descending scale and the leading note B was harmonised with the median. So this time we started on the tonic, chord 1, going to chord 3, and then chord 4 again. So those two progressions, which is 6, 3, 4 or 1, 3, 4, are good strong chord progressions and are used quite often. As I said at the beginning, another use of the mediant is to substitute for either the tonic or the dominant. And if you take a really common chord progression, 1, 6, 2, 5, so in the key of C, that's C major, A minor, minor, G. Instead of chord 1, we can now put chord 3. 3, 6, 2, 5. That's a very strong chord progression because in each case the root note of the chord goes down a fifth to the root of the following chord. Now, just be careful when you think about down a fifth. It doesn't literally mean that the left hand has to go down every time. It could go to the same note but up. So if I played the E minor up there, you could come up to the A, and we still refer to that as being a root progression down a fifth. You can call it up a fourth, which is the same thing. You end up on the same note, E up a fourth to A, or E down to A. But you can refer to this, E to A, as a root progression of down a fifth. And that is the strongest and most used chord progression of all. Chord 3 can also, as I say, be used as a substitute for a dominant. And a common way to use this is when a melody ends with the mediant note going to the tonic. And because it's ended, that final note has to be the tonic chord, chord C. You can put a mediant chord in first inversion. And in actual fact, it sounds and feels more like a dominant chord, really. You can feel the E at the top wanting to go on to the D, making it a G chord. But if the melody just ends with mediant to tonic, then the only way really you can harmonise that is with mediant in first inversion going to tonic in first inversion. Hope you found that useful. If you did, don't forget, subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Thank you.